everybody, it's Calxiyn here. So today, before we get started, let me just tell you guys should join our Discord server or become patrons over on Patreon. So this is going to be a bit of a controversial video, and obviously I don't agree with the post we're about to read, but Ashley, one of the $100 patrons, asked us for our thoughts on it and if we could read it. I don't necessarily like to do videos on other people's theories just because they're like, well, like, some people get mad.
Link it in the description.
I mean, I always link it. I always link back to them and I always credit them, but some people just don't want the attention. And I'm sorry, you posted it on the internet. I don't know what else you expect.
For free!
Like, I don't know. I consider Hunter and I, to an extent, commentary YouTubers, and this is just kind of part of that. Like, we're not stealing, we're commentating.
Commentary YouTubers are fucking just the worst.
Well,
like,
we're
reaction
the good ones.
YouTube.
I'm
no,
sorry.
we're not. We're as shit as everyone else, and the fact that this is what I've stumbled in on is just very upsetting for me. Anyways, please continue.
Alright, so as an avid Ilia defender and Jeremy Lee fan, it's safe to say I like Ilia and think she's a good addition to the cast. However, I can't help but feel like what I like about her should have been what was seen in Adam. For volumes 1 to 1.5 of 3? Volumes 1 to 1/2 of 3. So I guess volumes
1 to the half of halfway through volume 3.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. So just say like 1 and then 3.5. Don't put this
3.5 is even more fucking confusing. That sounds like a Kingdom Hearts game. Anyways, please continue.
Adam is never really depicted as a straight up villain. Instead, what I took from his portrayal was he was ultimately a misguided revolutionary. I mean, he still is. He's just misguided to a point where there is no redemption, but we'll talk about that.
He's also violent, and like they specifically say that he's violent.
Then the conclusion of volume 3 happened, and Adam was depicted as this incredibly abusive boyfriend who wanted to torment Blake, and I was like, oh, maybe it was all headcanon, but I can't help but feel like the revelation that Adam is just a shit really undermines him as a character. His appearance in volume 5 and Aaron saying Blake and Adam's relationship would be explored in volume 5 during a panel made me hope, okay, they can turn this around and make me like this idea of him being an abusive boyfriend. I don't think that you can like the idea of someone being an abusive boyfriend, but, you know, go off, continue. Not really. Adam is ultimately shown as a petulant,
yes.
Petulant child. I thought this was gonna, I thought that said something else, never mind. Who just...
pedophile?
No, punitive, and I was like, that doesn't make any sense. Petulant child who seems more obsessed with Blake than what his goal of freeing the Fawn is from oppression. And this characterization of Adam is kind of undermines the White Fang. Like, Adam did kill Sienna for the betterment of the Faunist, or so he could screw with Blake. What I originally thought was RT is placing Adam as a real threat as the leader of the entire White Fang, and the entire thing is undermined in the same volume with him willing to kill the Faunist there and him running away.
So can I throw something out there?
I want to finish first before...
Listen, right, you stopped me with the Mega Shadow Dragon theories, and after this I won't have a lot, but... never mind.
Okay. If we really wanted the really radicalized revolutionary, there should have been Sienna with Adam slightly there, not going all the way as thinking we should enslave or all kill humans, but believing humans don't deserve sympathy because we were never shown any, which aligns with what I thought about his character until the end of volume 3, but I personally can't help but feel disappointed about how Adam turned out. I think that what I wanted from him was a character like Ilia, a character who, well, now you have Ilia, a character who was torn between what felt like his duty and his love for Blake. It would have worked better because his love for Blake is established since the Blake trailer, while Ilia's love for Blake is introduced slowly over volume 4 to 5. I think that Ilia's love for Blake undermines Ilia because Blake already has son, Adam, and Yang all pining over her, whereas Blake hardly reciprocates similar feelings to anyone aside from Yang. I guess good on Blake for escaping an abusive relationship, but ultimately, we as the audience still do not understand the nature of Adam and Blake's relationship. Aside from Blake saw him as justice, and now I'm just asking why. What made Adam change? When did Blake start noticing he was like this? Was he always like this? I don't know. But the oversaturation of Blake's love life feels like it squanders too many characters' relations with her because so many of them have one-sided feelings, with Blake not really reciprocating anything. Also, I don't understand what people see in Blake, considering she's the personality and charisma of a wet paper bag in the main show. But yeah, we got a yandere Nazi boyfriend running around the place. Can't say I'm happy with that.
I think that...
So, like, I'm not done yet.
Oh, motherfucker.
So there's a post that's under this one, and I think it's really good, called Hinder the Hyper. Adam never seemed gray to me. From what Blake says, he might have been at one point, but by the Black trailer, he was past that. He was stealing a cargo ship from the Snee Dust Company to blow... is a blow to the company, and acknowledges form and process and making the White Fang's voice heard. It's something of a gray villain would do. Willingness to blow up some lowly employees with an easy heart. That's spite and nothing else. He doesn't care for the belittlement of the Faunus as much as he cares for making humans pay, and even if Faunus are caught in the crossfire, going after Beacon Academy isn't any better than wanting to blow up an all-Faunus militia for keeping him from making another statement to the humans, or did Beacon not have Faunus students? I can understand why people would want Adam to be gray for him to have some semblance of a good point in him. Battles of worldviews where the audience don't know who to cheer for are always interesting. What I don't understand is why people think he was ever built up to be gray. Blake calls him a monster on a pre-volume stuff alone. So that's what I agree with most in this post. This response is that, okay, so there's a Fanon version of Adam that frankly makes me uncomfortable, and we've had people like this in the Discord server, in the comment section, fighting against it in the comment section, but there's this fandom idea of Adam, that Adam is this misunderstood, poor little... you know, creature that just needs love, and then he'll be okay, and, like, all this other stuff that, like, oh, like, sometimes, you have, like, a couple camps of people, so, oh, Blake is the one that made him crazy, it's her fault, which, ew. And then you have sort of like, oh, but Adam, like, he'll get interesting eventually, which never happens, and like, oh, Adam should have never been like this, you know, he should have been my poor broken sweetheart that could have been like, all of this stuff, right? And so this, Adam has been around for a while, like, it's been pretty much 5 years, right, since RWBY started at this point, right? So people have had a lot of time to fester a Fanon version of Adam and get attached to him. And what I mean by that is that sometimes I think that people get more attached to the unfinished product than the finished product. And so, for example, people's hype for certain video games becomes so strong that when they get the game disappoints them because their Fanon idea or the idea in their imagination was so much better than anything a game could ever offer them, because the one in their head was catered to them, and the one in the show was not necessarily catered to anyone. It was just the character, right? And so I feel like with Adam, it's the same situation, as everybody sort of had these ideas for him, and they ignored actual evidence in the show, and so those ideas never came to fruition, because this main poster is saying, like, Adam seemed morally gray in the beginning. Like, no, he was ready to blow up a Snee Dust Company cargo, and we know from, like, I guess later installments in the series, like later seasons, that most of the people that work for Snee Dust Company seem to be underpaid Faunus labor. And so basically what you then have is Adam willing to blow up a ship, or a train, I should say, a train full of Faunus people, just so he can, you know, make Snee Dust Company, like, he was never morally gray, guys. I don't know where y'all got that idea, but people still want to defend Adam and like, oh, Adam was cheated, he was supposed to be so much more. He wasn't, you just wanted him to be. And I feel like that's such a key difference, is that it's not like, we don't, if something came out and it was like, oh, we were gonna write Adam this way, but then we decided not to, maybe you could argue that he was supposed to be this way, but he wasn't supposed to be anything other than what he actually is right now, judging by the evidence that we have presented. And this makes me really mad, because I feel like part of this is trying to, like, sympathize with somebody that we know is an abuser, because, like, if you liked Adam before Volume 3, I don't care. I wasn't around for that, so that's fine. But, like, to see these people still around now is weird for me, because I got into this show, like, Volume 4, with the established fact that Adam had abused Blake, that the producer, Gray's the producer, right? Or is he the director?
He's the director.
With Gray saying that, like, what Adam did to Blake was so bad they can't even show it on screen. Like, I was introduced to this information, and so when people are sort of sympathetic to that, I'm like, what is wrong with you, you piece of garbage?
So I feel like people have created a version of an abuser.
Yeah, the fan in Adam, right?
Created a version of an abuser, and where it's like some sort of, like, slow bent of logic, where it's like, well, there must have been something, or there must have been some sort of slow decay, and maybe there was, I mean, there was a decay, but ultimately this is not someone who still is still in some sort of neutral ground. This is someone who's very vicious, and their viciousness is seen all throughout, to the point where they can't even really be said to be sort of a pro-Faunist organization anymore. It can only really be said that, at least for Adam, until like his cronies like abandoned him, was really just a person who wants to hurt people, even if that be, you know, someone like who believes in their cause, who is also a Faunist like Blake.
And that's the other thing, is that I feel like this idea of Fan and Adam somehow also creates this toxic version of Blake, where people blame her for turning Adam into an abusive person, and that makes me think you're a pile of shit.
Fucking weird.
Like, that's not...
I haven't seen that,
I don't want to, like, I don't want to be friends with you. I don't want you around me. Like, I'm sorry if that sounds harsh, but, like, it's fine not to like Blake. The OP obviously doesn't seem to like Blake, but there are people that are like, oh, it's Blake's fault that Adam turned out this way. If she stayed with Adam, Adam would have never turned crazy. She could fix him. And, like,
you see that?
At the end of the day, here's the thing, right? For some reason in our society, it's up to women, for some reason, to fix these bad boys and make them lovable. For whatever reason. You understand what I mean?
Seen
like,
that
I can fix him!
with,
you know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? Like, that in media, it's like, you can fix the bad boy and make him turn away from his bad boy ways. Like, you are the one, like, no, making you into a good person was the job of your parents. I'm not responsible for fixing your broken ass, okay? And, like, obviously, you guys know that I'm not into guys, so this isn't probably, like, a me problem, but I've seen so many, like, of my, like, friends that are girls be like, yeah, he's a dick now, but I know that I can change him with the power of love. Obviously, they don't say it like that, but that's how they act, and I'm like, no, that's not what you're, like, what are you doing, right? And so people are like, well, if Blake only stayed and, you know, Adam was given the love he deserved, he would have been okay. Like, no, that's a trash opinion, and I feel like that's just perpetuating a lot of toxic stereotypes that I just don't agree with whatsoever. But that's a whole separate conversation. As for, I don't think that Adam was ever supposed to be the same as Ilia. I think that they always were supposed to build him up as a juxtaposition or as like an opposite to Ilia,
or someone who was truly like just believed in something and was sort of led astray by like actively malicious people.
And like, I don't know why people complain about Adam's characterization, because
I feel
they're
like
saying
because
that
they
he's
wanted
not
something
strong or whatever, but like, here's the thing, is that abusers aren't strong. They pick on people that they know that they can overpower, because if they picked on someone their own size, it wouldn't go that well for them. Like, I feel like that they shouldn't depict Adam as someone abusive who also has a lot of, you know, strength, you know what I mean, necessarily. Like, I feel like that the way they depict Adam now is that the only reason he kind of, like, picked out Blake was because he knew he would win, and those sort of people are sort of terrible people that when they're put up with someone as, like, as strong as them or as capable as them, all of a sudden they fail, you know what I mean, and they're sort of made to fail in a way. And so I feel like the best characterization for Adam is for him to be a whiny baby who lost, and you guys can say, oh, but he was built up to be so strong, but the thing is that when you're beating down people that are weaker than you, yes, you're stronger.
He's not dead yet, and, like, they'll probably make him
that's the other thing that I was gonna say. I don't feel like he's done. Like, you know what I mean? Like, all of you guys are sort of making, judgments about the end of his arc, when I think his arc is really beginning.
The type of person Adam is only gets worse when you show him up.
Yeah, I think that's true to an extent, like, in terms of, like, their characterization, but what I mean is sort of that, you know, the only reason he went after Blake is because he knew that he would win, and as soon as he knew, like, he didn't have it in the bag anymore. Like, he was like, oh, I've made some powerful friends when I was away. Like, he sided with the people that he thought would win because he likes winning. He doesn't like fighting, and I think that there's a key difference in that, is Adam is definitely the type of person to kind of be the sore loser and to really be the weak one in this sort of situation, and so when you guys
now we're getting off topic.
I mean, I think it's still on topic because the person in the post is sort of talking about that as an aspect. But I disagree with Adam needing sort of to be strong in the first place, or that should have been an aspect of his character. Like, making him
Like,
weak,
physically
only
strong, or
like I guess it's has a
'Cause he's still
physical thing,
physically
but like
strong.
yeah, it's more of a mental, like I don't want to say mentally strong
his
because that
power
sounds very
over people.
spiritual. Like
His
it's
power over people.
yeah,
or his
yeah.
charisma.
Exactly. It's that like Adam failed because he was only his strategy was I'm gonna like buy a bunch of new friends and win. Like obviously he didn't buy them, but that's sort of what happened, right? And so the only reason his confidence came from the fact that he thought that he would succeed and that nothing could take him down. And I think that's more interesting of a characterization for him, just because it sort of shows this side of someone who is, you know, very much that they're not in it to fight. They only fight if they know that they can win, and Adam was very overconfident in his winnings because he had the scary grim lady on his side and all that stuff. But as soon as Hazel's like, this is your problem, I don't want to help you, right? Everything kind of starts to go to shit. You know what I mean, Hunter? And I think, I don't know, I think that weakness is not only realistic, it's also interesting to me. Because I don't think that they should sort of make Adam this, like, powerhouse, because I know that he's still physically strong, but I think it has more to do with his mentality and, like,
his power
that,
over
yeah,
others.
his power over others, and if you take that power away from him, he's really nothing, and I feel like that's the strongest way to write him, and what should be written, because I think that it wouldn't be a great message to send to people any other way, because I feel like that it is supposed to be sort of Blake sort of you know, taking power away from the person that abused her, and then you sort of have, if it was any other way that was different than that, I don't feel like it would be appropriate in the first place. But that's just kind of where I'd like to end this. So posts like this obviously really make me a little mad. Because I don't think this person is necessarily an Adam sympathizer, but there are definitely people that are very extreme in defending
I
him
wouldn't
like
describe
this.
them as an Adam sympathizer.
Yeah, I don't think it's this post,
but
I think like the people that are like Blake made Adam the way he is, like those people are definitely off the hit, like they're unhinged, but I don't think this poster is unhinged. I think you know, they have a reasonable argument with like malformed evidence, because like the black trailer never really indicated to me anyway that he was supposed to be morally gray. He was gonna blow up a train with a bunch of people in it, but you know, that's just me, what do I know, right? And so yeah, that's kind of all I have to say. All right. Anyway, I hope that if you guys enjoyed this video, you guys will join a Discord server, become patrons over on Patreon, and we will see y'all later. Bye, guys.